tea.
You opened it. We came.
Good evening and welcome to another Fortean Words. This is me, Hemi, and that's Hobbit.
Hello.
And remember, it's just a small thing for you, but a big thing to us.
What's that?
You know what?
They saying stuff.
No, they're not. But
No.
I can't say it without laughing because I do love it when the
Remember to like and subscribe. Hit the bell notification. Buy my merch. Leave comments in the description below.
yeah. So welcome to this is a very saintly episode of the 14 Words tonight, isn't it, Hobbit?
Well, I was going to say, rather than doing an episode about a kid touching devil worshipper who's got an aversion to working on Saturdays,
And he's French.
What? Well, it's like saying Borat is from Kazakhstan. He's not really. So instead of doing about a devil worshipping kid toucher who's got an aversion to working on the Saturdays, what if we did
it started because I said to you, I said, when's St. Swithin's Day? Because I really don't want it.
Yeah.
You said it's raining. I said, when is St. Swithin's Day? Because I don't want it to rain. Because you remember the old thing. If it rains on St. Swithin's Days, it rains for 40 days.
Yeah.
Nights, yeah.
That's it. And then I was just like,
is it 40 days and 40 nights, or is it just 40 days? Because I've always said 40 days and 40 nights. I don't know whether it's.
So I am looking at the Britannica page for Saint Swithin, right? So, but now the funny thing is, earlier this week I was listening to the College Card. I say College of Cardinals. It was a bunch of cardinals in the Sistine Chapel, and they were praying to all the saints.
Yeah.
And it was like 30 minutes long. I was like, is that all the saints, really? And I'm pretty sure I didn't hear them say Saint Swithin's, because I remember hearing them saying like Holy Lady of Fatima, and I was like, I don't speak much Latin, but I realise when you're saying a name like Fatima, because that was a very unusual miracle, that one. So anyway, Saint Swithin.
Is Fatima no? She appeared to the three girls. I can't remember. Was it in Italy or something? Do you remember that?
Right.
That
the miracle of Fatima was an angel. I'm going to get this story wrong. Why don't I look it up rather than talk about Saint Swithin's? But in summary, are you looking it up? Yeah, that's good.
No, I'm just looking at the story that I think I'm thinking of.
So, in summary, a bunch of people, both skeptics and believers alike, all gathered at Fatima at this time they were told to do it. And the sun danced in the sky. It went from west to east, east to west, north to south, up and down. It went round and round. And everybody saw it. And it's very unusual because, supposedly in the rest of the world, the sun was doing what it normally does. But they witnessed a miracle there.
It was Fatima. It was two girls and a boy.
Yeah,
and it was what Portugal, I think, wasn't it?
Well, it's the most recent miracle that I know of.
1916.
Yeah. So it was a miracle, and it was witnessed by both skeptics and believers alike. And how is the sun wiggling around in the sky here? Yet supposedly it's just going on because it wasn't a worldwide phenomenon. It was just localized to this place in Portugal.
So the children reported a prophecy that prayer would lead to an end to the Great War, and then on the 13th of October that year, the lady would reveal her identity and perform a miracle so that all may believe.
Yeah, and it was. That's one of the names which I remember being prayed for in this prayer for all the saints. and it was nice. It was all in Latin. I didn't really understand much of what was going on, but I heard occasional names, and not one of those names I heard was Saint Swithin, and I
Oh,
thought to
actually, hold
myself,
on. This actually brings us full circle to one of the other conversations we had before the show. The second appearance of this woman occurred 13th of June on the feast of Saint Anthony.
"Oh yeah, I like Saint Anthony. Now
Yeah.
he's the patron saint of lost causes,
Mm.
and he's also the saint of if you pray to Saint Anthony and if you lost something, he helps you find it." And people say, "Oh well, that's not technically what you should use the saints for." I'm like, no, I'm
Oh,
pretty
so it was
sure.
actually the Virgin Mary they saw because it was in Fatima. So it wasn't
Yeah,
Fatima they saw; it was Virgin Mary in Fatima.
it's the vision of Our Lady, because Our Lady is another name for the Holy Mother of Mary. Like it's like, for example, the Paris Cathedral, Notre Dame. That Notre Dame is the formal French for Our Lady.
Mm.
That's all it is. So,
Or the
yeah.
dames, as they used to call them in
Well,
in American
yeah.
pulp fiction.
Well, the term dame is
Yeah.
from, well, it's the old Norman French. Dame is dame. It's that's what you called a lady, our lady. So our dame. Yeah. So Saint Swithin, he's an Anglo-Saxon saint. You'll never guess from the name that he's an Anglo-Saxon saint. You know, don't really.
I
Why
quite
don't we
like the
get?
spelling Saint Swithin UN ending in UN.
Why don't we get? Well, I'm looking at Saint
Oh,
Swithin.
hold on a minute. Saint Swithin's Day is so is
It's July the
Swithin
15th.
is Swithin different to Swithin?
Saint Swithin. So Swithin is Swithin.
Yeah.
That's July the 15th, is a day on which, according to folklore, the weather for a subsequent period is
Ah, so
dictated.
different spelling then. Same person,
So
different spelling.
also called Saint Swithin's Day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you see, this was before we had. It was before we had standardized spelling.
Mm.
So it really depends on, like Northerners will say it different to Southerners.
Yeah. Saint Swithin's Day.
Well, it's like, for example, and this is something which people might not be aware of, right? But England wasn't a unified country up until, oh, I think about probably 800 or 900 AD. I
To be
think that's
fair,
when
I'd
it
I'd say
unified.
even like probably up to the start of World War, even beyond. Like everybody's always hated the next town over and think they're kid touching uncle fuckers. Don't they? It's just I don't know. I think it's the way we've
I think
always
you
been.
may,
We're a small
I think
country. Country. We've
I
always
think you
hated
may
other
be
people.
using some hyperbole, but
Yeah, I may
it
be
is
going over
true.
the top, but yeah.
It's true. Prior to like the internet and telly, but there was very distinct regional differences in accent and culture and
I think it's why
customs.
nationalism never really picked up in this country because we all hated the people from the next town over, didn't
Well,
or the next village. Yeah, or you remember as you were kids, there was always the rumours of the big school fight between you and the next school over, weren't there?
you see, for example, I don't have much affinity for a northerner in Grimsby, but I understand he's an Englishman,
Mm.
and he'd probably grudgingly respect that I'm an Englishman. So there is a grudging respect there. But what I'm trying to say is, historically, prior to 800 and 900 AD, so some historian in the comments will say when this happened. You see, you had the Kingdom of Mercia, and then you had the Danelaw countries, and all the Danelaw countries are the north. And it would be where Mercian diplomats, which would then go to the Kingdom of Scotland, when conversing with them, because Scottish English had diverged so much from English English, or Mercian English, you could say, that the diplomats were unable to communicate to one another, so they spoke in French instead. That was the language which they both understood and both agreed on. And I think the reason for that was because there were centuries of Danelaw, which was effectively stopping communication between the various parts of the island of Great Britain. that's why there was such a difference. And to this day, the Northerners and the Southerners are different because they're
Well,
different people.
also, kind of RP tries to do the same sort of job, isn't it? It's about leveling the British accent, isn't it?
Well, yeah, received pronunciation was just like, let's have a proper way of speaking English. Like this is the way to do it, and that's why it's called the King's English.
Well, it used to be the Queen's English, but she's dead now, so it can't be.
Well, that's why we say received pronunciation
Yeah,
because it's just that's it's proper English. What is
proper
said
English like what
properly?
I do.
Yeah, it's proper English, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's proper English, isn't it, bruv?
Yeah, so I said, why don't we do a thing where we talk about various saints and how they're interesting and I like them and stuff. Like Saint Christopher, if you're a lorry driver or a taxi driver, you probably got a Saint Christopher, and it's kind of interesting character. Now, Dad, if you're listening, because I know he does listen sometimes.
God, it's not the sort of show you want your dad listening to, is it?
Oh, it's all right. He said to me, "Why don't you do a science show?" And I said, "Well, look, I do Fortean words, and occasionally we do a Tomorrow's World episode, but sometimes we do a woo woo episode. And today we're going to do a show talking about the saints. And look, um, I'm sorry to tell you this, right? Saint Christopher is not an Ethiopian. He's not a I can't
Turkish.
use that. I can't use that term on the tubes, can I?
Yeah,
But he's not a. I'm going to use the Greek term here. A burnt skinned, as what an Ethiopian is called.
yeah,
That's the Greek. That is. He's not one of those. No, uh, Christopher of
yeah. But
Lycia.
what about this picture we've found where
What?
where the paint's knackered and it's gone brown? What about that there Hobbit? That's distinct,
What?
definitive proof that is.
What about this painting of Saint Christopher where he's a 9 foot tall giant and he's got the head of a dog? Which is a bit like, hang on, well, why have you got dog-headed saints? Well, this is a bit sort of, that's a bit kind of like Egyptian, isn't it? That's a bit unusual,
Yeah.
isn't it? But because the Egyptians were all for about like humanoid creatures with animal heads. Nubis, I think, was one of them.
Or demons, as regular folk would call them.
Well, it's a bit of an unusual story, but it's kind of funny. I've got a bit of a story about that because I've been reading about it. So Saint Christopher, right? He was from Lydia. Now, for those, no, not Lydia. Sorry, he's from Lycia. Lycia is a
I think you
region.
say Lydia. Then, like, Lydia's a fabulous girl's name, isn't it?
Yeah, well, the Lydians are an interesting Greek colony. No, he was from the Greek region of Asia Minor. That's the
Ah, well,
Lydians.
that means he's a dead ringer for Ramesh Ranganathan, then, doesn't it?
Is that some subcontinental? That's
Yes.
Hindu.
I don't know what he is. He's cockeyed and he's allegedly a comedian, but I've yet to see evidence of it.
The joke is, ha ha ha, taxpayers' money is being used to fund my stand-up.
Yeah.
It's great. Don't you just love this? I love modern stand-up. what I there was a complaint I and a lot of like humorless women had about modern comedy was that I don't like laughing. I would like comedy to be serious and to
It
applaud
should be
when
followed
the
by a round of applause. Any good joke should
yeah
be followed. The gut reaction to a good joke is always a round of applause, isn't it?
and going yeah I agree
Yeah, it's right.
yeah.
Orange Man bad. Yeah, you tell them that Orange Man is bad.
Brexit, am I right, guys?
Yeah.
Yeah. So no,
Oh, that
so
Nigel Farage. Oh.
Nigel Farage, more like Adolf Farage, am I right? Ugh. I really like modern comedians. I think they're
To be fair,
brilliant.
it
But
would
anyway,
actually be funny if they. It would be funnier if they did that, but they don't even. The intention is not to even raise a titter, isn't it? As Frankie Howell would say.
well, that's the problem. I can't do authentic. I can't do authentic parodies because, like, to do an authentic parody would be boring and shit and not funny in the slightest. So there's that. But anyway, yeah, Saint Christopher, great guy, might be a bit of a legend, but at the same time,
Well, tell
I
us,
don't
Hobbit, what
mind
do
that.
we know about St. Christopher? Actually, we
Right.
didn't even do St. Swithin's. St. Swithin's got some
Oh
interesting
yeah, shall we
stuff.
do Saint Swithin's because I got it right in front of me,
Okay,
right?
then
So
you
yeah,
do
so
you
it
do a bit, and then
if
I'll do a bit. Whatever we want.
so in popular belief, if it rains on Saint Swithin's Day, it'll rain for 40 days. But if it's fair,
So it is just 40 days. I've completely added the 40 nights all my life. Then
I believe that's you're getting the flood story mixed up with it. We could have our resident Eastern Orthodox consultant on this,
yeah.
saying where does he feature in the
What do the
Greek?
church fathers say about it?
Yeah, well, yeah. What does the patriarchs of Moscow have to say about Saint Swithin? Let's ask. Let's ask. Do they? Does the old Slavonic rite of Orthodoxy believe in Saint Swithin? Do they? Do they say
Just
if
St.
it
Swithin's
rains?
Day, it just sounds like such a like British. That's a 100% British kind of like story, that isn't it? Like
I mean,
only we could have a thing about rain. Like
yeah. So what the word I'm looking for here? What is it? I'm trying to say. Come on, brain, you're nearly there. If Saint Swithin's was Russian, it'd be like, oh, well, if it rains on Saint Swithin's Day, then you have 40
all
days of
your family will
famine.
die. It would be
Yeah,
something really
yeah.
bleak like that, wouldn't it?
It'd just be like if it rains on Saint Swithin's Day, then all of your crops will fail, and you will have famine, and you'll die, and it will suck, and then the
Yeah,
Tsar will like crush your bones into the mud,
yeah,
and also he'll rub salt into the wounds as you're dying, and it's gonna hurt a lot, and you're just gonna have a bad time. Okay,
yeah.
you're gonna have bad. But in sort of Anglo-Saxon law, it's like, oh, well, it's Saint Swithin's Day. Well,
Weather's going
it's
to be a bit
pretty.
miserable.
Yeah, yeah. Which in itself is a fate worse than death in this country.
Yeah.
But it just yeah. So weather frequently changes around midsummer, and thus the tradition that this day influences the weather may stem from earlier, possibly pre-Christian belief. On the European continent, similar beliefs are attached to other saints. For example, Saint Medard, which is the June the 8th in France. A popular rhyme about the superstition regarding rain on holidays. Saint Swithin's Day, if thou dost rain, for 40 days it will remain. Saint Swithin's Day, if thou be fair, for 40 days 'twill rain ne'er mere. I was like, that's a bit Scottish, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it will rain near mere.
Rainy
Oh,
bar, pal.
there was a thing the other. Someone was complaining, saying, "Oh, well, actually, there are no glens in northern England, therefore Robin Hood wouldn't be riding through the glen." But then the guy who wrote the song was like some Scottish bloke, and he was writing about what he knew,
Yeah.
and what he knows is glens. And then someone said, "Yeah, but in Yorkshire we have got a glen, so why not him ride through that glen?" And
Isn't he supposed to be rumoured from a bit further north? Is it Kirklees was supposed to be in his stomping ground, not Nottingham?
well, I mean, there is that old trip to Jerusalem pub in Nottingham, and that was a popular setting off point for Crusaders,
Hmm.
and uh, Robin Hood would have been there. But
Actually,
yeah,
it's Robin of Locksley.
yeah, Robin Hood, yeah.
Actually,
But yeah, I like the story of Saint Christopher because he's an interesting guy, and so one story about him,
we
right?
still haven't finished Swithin. He did
Oh, I
more. He
thought we
did some
had.
interest. No, he did some interesting stuff. So,
Yeah.
according to a certain person we both know, he probably didn't exist because since Swithin was Bishop of Winchester from his consecration 30th of October 1852 until his death of 2nd of July 863. Oh, so he only did 11 years. However, he's scarcely mentioned in any document of his own time. His death is entered in the Canterbury manuscript of the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle under the year 861. He's recorded as a witness to 9 charters, the earliest of which is 854. So, according to certain people, if he doesn't appear in any documentation, he doesn't exist. Uh,
The only way we know about him is because there's documentation.
yeah, so he was adopted as the patron of the restored church at Winchester. So if you want to go
Can I
and
just say I'm
yeah,
really getting annoyed with these people saying, "Oh, so and so didn't exist." It's like,
yeah,
well, why are we talking about him if he didn't exist?
yeah.
I mean, the fact that we're talking about him to me suggests that there is some truth to this story. I mean, look, okay, can I defend this point with something I know is obviously a fiction?
Yeah,
Okay, Slender Man is obviously a fiction,
yeah.
but because people believe in Slender Man so much, they've created a tulpa where he becomes real.
What about Jason and Freddy? I mean, they're kind of very similar to although they're only in films. Like,
Yeah. Well, because you've got tardo brains like Gary who idolize Chucky.
yeah.
Chucky is real,
But the
and
thing
and
is,
that's
though,
the
I
thing.
mean, in some circumstances, he does he does exist because he has a biography, he has a story, he has stuff he's done. It's kind of like in some weird ways he does. He is, when they do a reboot and they go and they change everything about something, you can't really, because it's been established that kind of that's the person's life, isn't it? I know it's a fictional character, but still,
I
do you understand what I mean?
I get annoyed with this, and I think people would like not put up with it in food if you say, "Oh, I'm going to make a lasagna," and instead what I end up is giving somebody, let's think something that's completely not lasagna in
Well,
any
a
way.
spag bowl. A
Oh,
spag
yeah,
bowl's like an inside-out lasagna in it. So
well, yeah, but the problem is you could say it's got the same ingredients. No, what if I served you up instead, I know, lemon chicken and egg fried rice and
yeah,
say, here's my lasagna. And you go, but this isn't lasagna. You'd be like, wow, I'm calling it lasagna. It's lasagna. And you'd be
yeah,
like, yeah, but look, I know what lasagna is and this isn't it. It's like, oh,
yeah.
why are you being such a bigger? Why don't you eat it? But the problem with this analogy is like lemon chicken, egg fried rice is actually
You would
quite
eat it,
nice.
yeah.
I would. But if someone's like said, I've
How about your lemon chicken, but it's tofu lemon chicken? Then it's inedible. Then, and this will make this
and
a
the
better
the egg
a,
fried rice
a better
is
analogy.
and the lemon sauce is in fact diarrhea scooped up from the streets of Calcutta. And in which case you'd be like, look, I'm just not going to eat what you're calling a lasagna
Yeah,
because one, it's not, and two, I can smell the shit from here, and three, it's good. You know what? You have your Star Trek Academy or whatever it's called.
yeah,
I'm not eating it.
yeah,
I'm not eating the dog shit sandwich. You have it.
yeah,
Can I just do a brief aside from talking about saints for 1 minute, right? Or
yeah.
we'll get back to Saint Christopher because there's some interesting story there. You know, it's more in games, but I think they'll do it in like show media as well. In games, they're saying, because chuds aren't buying our games. That's the new insult now. Now that incel's not working anymore, because chuds aren't buying our games. That's what they found. I'm like, well, it sounds to me like this chud audience is quite a large one, and if you're not catering to them,
We,
then
we should be talking about Saint Genesius of Rome, because he's the primary patron saint of film actors and theatrical arts.
right, okay. So, like I was saying, if your games keep failing because you refuse to cater to the chud demographic, as you called it, maybe you should cater to the chud
Well, they've
demographic.
did you see in our friend's Discord that
Here's an
the new
idea.
thing is
How about you
the
make
new thing
games
is the
that
bait
don't
and
suck?
switch, where you go through a time loop to save your wife, and then she goes, "Ha, jokes on you, idiot! I'm a lesbian, and here's my black wife."
Yeah, but that's what I was trying to say about like
Yeah,
if I said I'm making lasagna, but in fact it's dog shit on a bed of rice with tofu, that's the bait and switch
yeah, but the
there.
thing is, though, you don't even know the turds are in there with that one, do you? Unless someone tells you.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, well, look, I've seen like the previous 20 meals you've made, Kate, and they all look at the same. So you can tell me you're making beef linguine, but
With spaghetti.
it's like, look, Kay, this is the same shit you do every time, okay? You might give it a different name, but it's going to be the same fucking slop.
Mm.
And it's bland, it's unappetizing, and it's all been cooked wrong, and it's unhealthy. And this is like look, people might say, "Oh, we got a new Star Trek show, we got a new Star Wars show." It's just like I don't fucking care because this show isn't Star Trek. I know that because I've had beef linguine before,
Yeah,
and it's not this
I've
K.
seen George Lucas's Star Trek, Star Wars, and Gene Roddenberry's Star Trek. I know what Star Trek is when I look at it.
Like K, for example, I know if I'm having special fried rice, one, the rice should be cooked, and two, the garlic shouldn't be turned to fucking charcoal. You dumb. Look, can we do a thing, right? You know how.
Kay is very Fortean. She's stuck in a fucking time loop every
Can we
week.
have like. You know, there's like the government intervenes in everybody's life to do
Yeah,
everything. They ban everything. Can we just. Well, this is the problem. Because the government's evil, they're not going to ban Kay from cooking anymore.
yeah.
I mean, I would say that she should be banned from cooking because it's food waste. Kay is one of those sort of persons where it just like no, it just
Oh, here we go. We're getting the full works. I'm getting a thunderstorm as well.
yeah. I was just
Instead of
going to say
rumble.
I heard a bit of rain your side.
Yeah, yeah. I've got thunder
Yeah.
rumbles now as well. It's going for good job. Good job. It ain't St Swithin's Day today, isn't it? I bet.
Well, I was just going to say instead of talking about bait and switches and how much like media annoys me, let's talk about saints. So Saint Christopher, right? Interesting story. So one story is he was this giant, 9 foot tall, great man, huge man. Some say the biggest man there ever was. And he was around in the second century, and he was like, he was going to find the greatest king of them all.
Oh, speaking of churches, you ever heard of a retro choir? In church architecture, a retro choir or back choir is the space behind the high altar in a church or cathedral, which sometimes separates it from the end chapel. It may contain seats for the church choir. I never heard that phrase before.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, Saint Christopher he finds this guy this king dude, and it's like, oh,
Oh,
you're the
there's
great.
a Buckinghamshire variation for St Swithin's. If on St Swithin's Day it really pours, you're better off to stay indoors.
Yeah. There we go. I'm just telling a friend like I'm actually
Hold on
doing
a
a show
minute.
today and not.
BBC report. So in 971, decided to move his body. Blah blah blah. James Rain suggested that the legend was derived from a tremendous downpour of rain that occurred, according to the Durham chroniclers, on St Swithin's Day in 1315. James Rain said that.
Is this the BBC saying it?
Let's see who James Rain is. He's an English antiquarian and topographer. I don't know, clergyman from the 1810s. Probably invented the BBC.
I was going to say
Should we
that
just say
this
invented the BBC show?
uh, it just um uh hang on. Normally, I'm playing a game with my friend at this time, so I'm just sort of
Yeah,
explaining to them what's happening because they didn't know about the change in schedule,
yeah.
which has come as a great sort of disturbance to everybody involved. So I hope everybody,
I hope you
like
all
I was saying,
appreciate this.
you better give us a fucking like right now. Go
Yeah.
on to Rumble and do the thumbs up and leave a nice comment in there saying Hobbit and Hemming, I really appreciate you taking time out of your
Yeah.
busy
We
schedule.
did it for
You,
you. We did
you
it for
sat.
you. I felt guilty because we have missed a few lately, and I thought I'd make sure we do one every week. Try and make sure every week we do one. So I hope this is
Yeah.
appreciated by 20 people have watched it already.
And so I just thought I'd take some valuable me
Oh,
time out and
it appears IC3 Joggers appears to be somewhat banned on YouTube because it's coming through you, but through YouTube Studio.
oh dear. Well, look, I see free joggers. If you go onto Rumble, you can tell us what you
It's
think
actually
about the
Rumble
show.
Studio is showing me all of his comments, but YouTube isn't showing them. So there's some weird glitch. So
Ah,
even deleted stuff on YouTube, it will show you.
I'm on. I'm on right. So if you're looking on top things, all you see is interdimensional lizard, and all the other comments get hidden. But if you go to live chat, it shows you all that stuff because,
Oh, does it?
you know,
Okay then.
YouTube's got to do this really fucking gay censorship. And by the way, can I just say,
Oh, top chat
Susan,
to live chat. Oh, there we go. I can see them all now.
Susan, I'm really sorry that you're burning in hell with your drug addict
She ain't
son.
seen since Within, is she?
I'm really really sorry that you're both burning in hell because you didn't accept Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, and because you refused to do any work on Saturdays. So I'm really sorry that you're burning in hell for eternity now, Susan. It's
Um,
so fucking sad that
let,
you're
let me read
there.
this by someone who wants to keep their channel. Trafford Lee says, F Rumble, Russell Brand has given that platform a certain disease that a lot of people used to get that was once called grids.
Ah, you know the funny thing is, right?
See, I've got to the
unfortunately.
position. Um, on my Roku box, I'll just dab on everybody saying it. So when I watch YouTube on my Roku, I don't get any ads. When I watch Rumble on my Roku, ads galore every fucking 5 minutes.
Yeah, I use a computer, so the only time I slum it and I have normie tech is when I get a YouTube link on my phone to share and like oh well you get two fucking obligatory ads before things happen now, bitch. Fuck you. Open cloth show Bob's and Virgin.
Yeah,
Fuck's sake,
so actually
fucking
Rumble's
YouTube.
worse. It's just full of, but they're really, really fucking shit ads, aren't they? There's that AI ad, and then there's that one with Russell Brand going, "I'm Russell Brand, and you Rumble give me loads of money, even though I should be in
Yeah.
prison because I'm a strokey person."
I mean, so I quite a lot of people get really annoyed with him, right? But I saw this interview. He went on Piers Morgan's show, right? And you know how Piers Morgan has had a few interesting shows recently. Like there was one where he walked off because the other guy was just saying, "Hey, is this your missus? Is this your missus getting boned by a bunch of you know whats?" and
That was funny.
and then Piers was just like, "I can't do this anymore," and walked off of his own fucking show.
Oh, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care though. He can take all the stuff like
I
that. He
don't
doesn't
care.
care. Don't
I don't
care.
care. I'm not going to do the interview anymore. I don't care.
Yeah.
It's
Not
like,
that
well,
I care.
that's very unprofessional of you, Piers Morgan. But
Yeah.
what I do like is Russell Brand came into his studio to do an interview with him.
Yeah.
And Piers was, doing the usual sort of Weasley thing of saying, "You're a bit of a shit, aren't you, Russell Brand? You used to
Yeah.
have sex with prostitutes and do
You used to have
drugs." And
sex with women, you weirdo.
yeah, and Russell Brand was just like, "Yeah, I did do that, Piers, but can I just can I just read you one of my favourite passages from the Bible?" And then he spends like the next 2 minutes searching for this like bit in Isaiah,
Yeah.
and Piers is just like looking at the camera, exasperated because like yeah, at the end of it, right, Russell just goes, "Ah, can't find it, Piers, but I'm going to read you this section instead." It's just like he's wasting all his fucking time looking, like flicking through pages in the Bible.
The storm out was from a bloke with about 60 IQ as well. Imagine being forced to storm out by somebody with about 60 IQ, just mogged by the knuckle dragging IQ havers.
What I love about like the Piers show, I mean, I don't watch it unless someone puts a clip of it. It just seems to be a cavalcade of where like people are dabbing on him, and
Yeah.
just like Russell going is like, "I'm going to waste yours and everybody else's time flicking through pages of the Bible very slowly."
Yeah.
And he's got all these like post-it notes in his Bible too, like, "Oh, that's a good passage. Yeah, I'll save that for later."
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, that's a good passage. It defends me touching little girls. I'll keep that one. I'll keep that one for when I need it, when it's handy. I'm not convinced by Russell Brand's sudden Christianity, sudden bout of Christianity.
I mean, all I'll say is, right, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. Christianity, right, is the religion of the sinner. Jesus came to save those that have sinned, and Russell Brand, by his own admission, has done a fair bit of sinning.
As Joko Gizmo says, Rumble chat is crap. It doesn't work as well as YouTube. What I would like Rumble to do, instead of giving
Right, hang on, just a second.
instead of giving Jeremy the Quartering money, money to bore people to fucking death, why don't they actually put some in the UI instead?
Right, so I'm gonna say one thing, right, for the Rumble chat, right?
Yeah.
When you go on the Rumble chat and you see
Obviously,
messages,
I would like to say to the CEO of Rumble, obviously, if you want to stop comments like this, just give me 3 million like you did the Quartering.
I will settle for £30,000 per appearance.
30, okay then.
I like it. I'm cheap, you know.
Yeah.
I'm cheap for 30 grand per appearance, and I will say many. But I will say this right for free, right? In Rumble, you type a message, and it appears in the live chat. YouTube, it doesn't appear in the live chat until you go from top chat to live chat,
Yeah.
because YouTube
Hence
does this
the,
thing.
The IC3 joggers comments.
Well, again, you know, just YouTube's got this thing where it's like, oh well, you see, these comments might be a bit risque, so we don't think you should see that sort of thing, you know.
I don't think this IC3 fella is a man that's IC3 joggers. I don't really think he's doing sports channel.
Look, these messages, right, may be not family friendly. It's like, yeah, but your fucking family friendly stuff is just like, let's trans all the
Elsa with Spider-Man.
Yeah, and fucking trans all the kids. So you know what? Fuck your family.
Lily Tino.
Fuck you, YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, so speaking of like people that aren't family friendly, in El Salvador they want Bad Bunny to be banned because they're saying his music turns people into quas. It turns them gay, and yeah, so
Oh.
yeah, no.
Well, it turned him
Saint
into
Chris.
one, didn't it?
Well, I mean, a bit of a sassy boy. So I like the story of Saint
He's a
Christopher,
lot of a
right?
sassy boy.
I like the story of Saint Christopher. You know, we've done Saint Swithin. It only took us half an hour. I think we'll cover the rest of the saints and all this time. It'll be good, won't it? Saint Christopher, right? So he finds, like, you know, the biggest, baddest dude around, the king, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to serve you. I'm going to serve you. And you see, now. The king would cross himself at the mention of the devil, and revealing that this king that he thought, you know, that Saint Christopher thought was a bad dude, he actually believed the devil had more power than him. So Saint Christopher, right, he decided to serve the devil, as you do. It's just like, well, look, you're a bitch in comparison to this devil. I'm going to serve the devil. And I just find it interesting, you know, here's this giant, and he's got like a dog's head, and he serves the devil. During his search, he encountered a band of thieves. His leader referred to himself as the devil. But when this leader avoided a Christian cross out of fear, Saint Christopher learned there was someone even more powerful than the devil. And it's like, okay, this story is a bit. I'm not doing the story justice, right? I'm sounding a bit flippant and glib when I'm saying it, but I'm sure, like, when it's told correctly, it's like, you know, it's an apocryphal tale, maybe, but it's basically Saint Christopher found, like, the most powerful force in the world is Jesus, and so he devoted himself to him. He became a hermit.
Like Jesus, isn't
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. It's funnier than that. You see, so Saint Christopher, he found a hermit who taught him about Christ, the King of Kings. The hermit suggested he spend his life in prayer and fasting, which is the thing St. Christopher, you know, a giant, probably often hungry, found difficult, and so he objected.
So how come he became patron saint of lost causes? Because generally it's kind of something to do with
That's
the way
Saint
they
Anthony.
lived or died. Because
That's
it's
Saint
Saint
Anthony.
Valentine.
That's Saint Anthony. You're thinking of Saint Anthony's the patron saint of lost causes.
Saint Christopher the Traveller.
We're still on Saint Christopher, yeah.
Sorry.
So anyway, the hermit says, right, okay,
Well,
you're eating.
I was just going to finish off by saying, like, you got Saint Anthony, who's patron saint of lovers because he had his heart cut out and shown to him. Then
That's Saint Valentine.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know,
so we'll make this guy the patron saint of Hallmark lovey dovey day.
Yes. It's the patron saint of selling chocolates at a reduced price two
Yeah.
weeks afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, my dad listens to the show. Well, he's probably clicked off by now. But anyway, sorry, Dad. Saint Christopher's not a coon. He's, in fact, he's a Greek.
He's not a
He's a
spook.
doc.
He's not
He's
spooky.
well, no, he's not a ghost. He's real. He's a
Well, he's a
giant with a
ghost now.
dog's.
He's a
Well,
ghost
he
now.
no, now he's a saint.
Yeah.
But
I'm saying it's a bit like ghosts.
I mean, it's,
I know the church
go,
fathers wouldn't say so, because the church fathers don't like anything.
I think we did an episode about ghosts before, and I'll just
Yeah.
say, see episode so and so where we talk about
This
ghosts. And
reminds me of like you get those things where they do in the paper like funny things that kids say. So there's one where someone explains God to him, kind of he's everywhere and nowhere. So they go, "Oh, he's a bit like a gas then."
right, because I just the okay. I'm not going to think too much about that
Yeah,
because that's not true because
because
the
it's a
gas
kid
is
thinking
there.
of, because it's a kid thinking about it. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah. Well, it's like when hamsters die, they go to Devon.
yeah,
So, anyway, Saint Christopher said to the hermit, "Look, guy, I eat like two sheep a day. This fasting thing's not going to work out for me, buddy.
yeah.
I quite like to eat like an entire fig tree's worth of figs after I have my two
Oh
sheep a day."
Jesus! I bet that shift the gut. That must shift all the sheep he eats then, mustn't
And
it?
I like to finish off with a barrel or two of Retsina.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised he's not the patron saint of the toilets if he ate all them figs.
I like to finish off with a barrel or two of Retsina afterwards because I do like that turpentine tasting white wine to wash down. Well, the thing is, if you're eating figs, feta, and sheep, then you do need something strong to wash it down with.
His guts must have sounded like a washing machine.
So this hermit who remains nameless, right? It's just this hermit dude.
Who had a
He's like-
very efficient digestive system.
He said, right, well, you know what? Considering that you're eating like 30,000 calories a day,
Yeah.
maybe like fasting's not right for you. What if you just like did work for the Lord instead?
To be fair,
So-
also if he's eating all those figs, it's probably a lot like fasting because I don't think his body's really hanging on to any of that food, is it?
Well, I don't know. He's got a strong metabolism, but he needs a strong metabolism because I'm going to read on here, right?
Yeah.
So you see, now he's got to find something else that would please Christ. So he said, "I know there's a nearby river, right? I'm going to help travellers cross because fording it is dangerous, and if you're not strong enough, you're going to drown in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry these people across so they don't get swept away." He didn't really understand bridges, but he did understand carrying people. One day, a child approached St. Christopher by the river and asked to be helped across. So, of course, Christopher obliged, or St. Christopher. However, as he entered midstream, the river rose and the child's weight grew and became extremely heavy. It was only by great exertion that St. Christopher safely delivered the child to the other side. Now, bear in mind, right, this guy, when I'm saying he's eating 30,000 calories, that's probably what Eddie Hall eats in a day. I think he eats like.
So it was like the Eddie Hall of hermits. There was.
Well, no, he decided the hermit's life wasn't for him. He's like, you know what? I'm actually going to help people. And when they say, wow, you're strong, it's like, yes, because Christ the Lord, the King of Kings, made me this
I eat
strong.
me figs. That's why.
Yeah. And two sheep a day and a barrel of Retsina.
I have a colon that you can see your face in.
The thing is, imagine like the piss he would have when like drinking a barrel of
Where's he
Retsina. It's
putting
just
all those fig turds? Where's he?
I just. Well, maybe that's why he was in this fast-flowing river, you see, because it kind of just.
He just treated it like the Ganges did it. It's someone else's problem.
Well, it's like this is also the origin story of how the Turks came to be. They all came washed out of this river. So, anyway, So he said to him like afterwards, he managed to carry him to the other side of the hill, and he's probably like had a nosebleed at the time, and like
IC3 says all travellers. I think he's being.
no, 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 the patron saint of Gippos is the devil. So he said, right, so he paid King Street heavy. It was only great exertion. Yeah, we said this bit. When St. Christopher asked the child why he was so heavy, the child explained that he was the Christ, and that when St. Christopher carried him, he also carried the weight of the whole world on his shoulders. The child then vanished. But you see, that's not the only story. I mean, we got another story here, which is a bit more sort of mundane, but I like the story of carrying Christ across the river. Other legends state Saint Christopher travelled after his experience and I do struggle with them English words. He spoke to thousands of people about the good word of our Lord. Evangelized, evangelized,
Yeah.
evangelized. Anyway, he said, "Look, there's this guy called Jesus, right, and he's why I'm strong. You pray to Jesus, and you'll be strong like me." Arriving in Lycia in Asia Minor, and witnessing to Christians who were there who were being martyred. That's how it's written. And witnessing to Christians there who were being martyred. At that time, St. Christopher was detained in order to offer a sacrifice to the emperor, because this was the 2nd century AD. When he refused, it was decided to attempt to persuade him with money and women. 2 women were sent to seduce him, but he instead converted them to Christianity. It's like, so, did you get him off? It's like, no, no, we didn't. Oh, is he gay? No, but anyway, there's this guy called Jesus Christ, and he says I don't have to be a whore anymore. I'm going to be a nun. I don't know why. I'm belittling these women's experiences, but anyway, they're just like, no, I'm going to go to church now. I've decided I don't like
No,
her.
I don't think I want to be a whore anymore.
I don't want to take cum loads for money anymore.
Oh no.
I've seen Ursula and I've decided that's not for me.
Are we going to talk about Saint Ursula later?
Well, oh God, yeah, yeah. That was what I was going to segue into it. So anyway, you see, he's the patron saint of travellers and of children. His feast day is July the 25, and that's the day when you can eat 2 sheep, a barrel of retsina, and a fig tree full of figs. That's how to honour the memory of
I
Saint
seen when he stopped
Christopher.
being a hermit, he laid off the figs a bit because
No, no, no.
that indoor plumbing weren't great, was it?
Look, I think you've sort of like latched onto this idea of hermitage a bit too much, right? Saint Christopher was never a hermit. He
No,
just
the
spoke to
hermiting
her.
wasn't too much. I think all those figs was probably a bit too much.
Yeah, well, like I said, he talked to a hermit saying, "How can I serve the Lord?" And it's like, "Well, have you considered fasting?" And it's just like, "That's not going to happen, buddy."
He kind of like had like backdoor bulimia. I don't think he was really taking on those 30,000 calories eating all them figs.
Look, can I just sort of categorically state for the record, right?
Yeah,
Figs are not a laxative.
figs do make you poop though.
Yeah, but that's like any look. I'm going to let you in on a secret of food and
Do you want me to
digestion.
do the woman bit and do an anecdote?
I'm going to do a public service announcement. If you eat food,
Yeah,
eventually it turns into poo and it
yeah,
comes out. And some food is better at turning into poo than others. And
yeah,
the food that's better at turning into poo is the one with fiber in it.
yeah.
I'm getting burpy, just gassy, just thinking about it.
Just
Oh, and
thinking
the name
about three thousand
Christopher,
calories of turds. Is that making you gassy? Is it?
30,000 calories. By the way, the name Christopher means Christ bearer, and there's even a Greek thing explaining that if you're interested.
Yeah,
I struggle with those Greek names, but this one makes a bit of
yeah.
sense. Yeah. Um, yeah, we got a Latin. Oh, well, the Latin is Sanctus Christophorus. So, okay, well, Sanctus is, sanctified. He's a saint. Yeah, yeah.
What? So do you want to talk about Saint Ursula now?
Well, I'll just say that
Patron saint of single
I
divorced
just
women.
just the patron saint of asymmetrical boobs. There is a thing about Oh, there's an Egyptian saint which they say is similar to him, Saint Menea. I think that's the right name. I've lost it. It was a big passage somewhere here about, but there's some Egyptian saint a bit like him. Oh, that's the painting I like. Right, there's this. You know the Dutch painter Rubens.
Yeah.
He paints like the Ursula-esque women
Oh,
or
okay.
Rubenesque women,
Cherubian. I
as
thought it was. I thought you called them Cherubian, didn't they?
well, you basically paint women that look like Ursula in repose, wearing like thin, scantily clad veils, right? Well, yeah. So the thing is, he didn't just paint women that look like Ursula. He also painted Saint Christopher carrying the child. So there's a painting of that as well. So
Yeah,
I'm
because they
just
called it Ruben. Is it Rubenesque? I believe they call chubby women.
I like the thing. It's in bottom where Eddie Hitler's saying to Richie, "You're fat," and it's like, why do you have to be so like insulting? Can't you call me Rubenesque? No, you're obese.
So I've got a picture of Ursula. She didn't look like
Yeah.
she was the patron saint. Oh dear, that bloke with the bow and arrow ain't too happy. Oh, Robin Hood ain't too happy with her, is he? Oh, that was when she was martyred. So we have one that was martyred. So was Saint Christopher martyred?
Why don't you describe this painting you see to those that
Of
listen on the wireless?
So you've got Saint Ursula. She's like, "Do you want a cup of tea? No thanks." She's doing the no thanks sign. No thanks. I don't.
Oh,
I don't want to be shot. The
she
hand
she's
up.
got she's got her hand up and she's not even looking at the
Yeah.
archer. And
Am I
the now
bothered? She's going. Am I
it
bothered though?
the expression I would caption this as is not interested.
Yeah. Just and then some dude. So did archers have to wear those caps then? Did they? Well, that's
Uh,
like the Robin
I,
Hood type cap, isn't it? On that one.
yeah, it is. The other thing I'm looking at this painting now. But bear in mind, right? Artists weren't
Even the
always
chef ain't
known.
too happy. He's there at the back, isn't he, moaning?
There's a rather emaciated dog. It looks a bit like
Yeah,
an
that's a whippet.
ancestor of a. Yeah, I was going to say it's
Yeah,
a.
it's a whippet.
But the thing is, right? I'm looking at this painting and I'm looking at the armor they're wearing, and I'm just
No,
like,
no one's really happy because there's a lot of raised spears and archers, isn't there?
yeah. But the thing about this, which sort of like gets me, is he's wearing a breastplate, which I mean, yeah, he's got range of movement, but I'm just like, for some reason, I always thought archers weren't given
Oh,
like
he's
heavy
one of the
armor.
enemy hobbit. He's a German Flemish painter.
German Flemish.
Yeah,
Oh, wait,
Hans
because
Memling.
yeah, because like Flanders was part of the Prussia.
Yeah, born in the Middle Rhine region, apparently. He spent his
Oh,
childhood in Mainz. Do you know where Mainz is? Mainz.
that Mans is in Germany.
Okay, during his apprenticeship as a painter, he moved to the Netherlands and spent time in the
So
Brussels.
anyway, never mind about this Flemish painter. It
Yeah.
was Saint Ursula all about? Why she got the cross of Saint George
Ursula,
on the
Latin
flag?
Latin for little she bear, was a Romano
Yeah.
British virgin and martyr, possibly of royal origin. She's venerated in the saint as a saint in the Catholic Church, the Eastern Orthodox Church, and the Anglican Communion. Her feast day in the pre-1970 General Roman calendar and in some regional calendars of the ordinary form. I don't know what that is, but it's Novus Ordo. Do you know what that is, Hobbit?
Or Novus Ordo.
Yeah.
That's the Pope Paul the Sixth in 1969 did that in Vatican too. So
Oh, so
yeah.
so I'm guessing that
So
she
anyway, her
disappeared.
feast day.
So she disappeared before Vatican II, then. But her
No,
feast day should be the 21st of October.
it still is the 21st of October, even on Novus Ordo.
Oh, okay then.
Like the
Have
problem
they
is when
just
you read
overcomplicated it then for no real
the
no
problem
real good
Wikipedia.
reason?
Yeah, well, that's the problem with Wikipedia. They just like make things needlessly complex.
Yeah.
Like I was trying to look at like the burning rate in a reciprocating piston engine and cetane values of diesel and various other alternative fuels.
Yeah.
and they were just like making it way more complicated. It's like, look, I appreciate some people need to have a look at this formula, but all I wanted was just a graph
Mm.
showing like heat of cylinder walls versus efficiency of combustion. I wanted to know would it be better, right, if you could preheat your engine, but you're looking at a few hundred degrees, so the only way to effectively do that is with diesel.
So there is little information about Ursula or the anonymous group of holy virgins who accompanied her, and on an uncertain date were killed along with her at the Colonia Agrippina.
Oh yeah, good old Colonia Agrippina.
The Colonia Claudia Ara Agrippinesium was the Roman colony in the Rhineland from which the city of Cologne, now Germany, developed. So she was killed in Cologne. Um, they remain in the Roman martyrology, although their commemoration. Fucking hell, it's a bit wordy, isn't it? Although their commemoration does not appear in the simplified general Roman calendar of the 1970 Missale Romanum. Do you know what any of that means?
Look, mate,
Are
you
they
you
are
may
they
as well
trying to say that like that she wasn't canonized post Vatican II? Is that what they're trying to say?
look. All of this stuff is a load of Flemish bollocks, as far as I'm
Okay then.
concerned. So, who is she? What's she done, and why?
So the earliest evidence of a cult of martyred virgins at Cologne is an inscription from C400 in the church of Saint Ursula on the Ursulaplatz in Cologne. This inscription, commonly referred to as the Clematius inscription, states that the ancient basilica had been restored by the senator Clemantius on the site where the holy virgins were killed. The earliest source to name one of these virgins as Ursula dates from the 10th century. Her legendary fame comes from a medieval story with many variations. In it, Ursula was a princess who had already promised herself to Christ. However, her father, the semi-legendary king Dionysius of Damonia in southwest Britain in the late 4th century, demanded she marry the pagan governor Conan Meriadoc of. That's quite funny, isn't it? The names Conan and Meriadoc, because isn't that Merry from the Lord of the Rings full name, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Meriadoc is in that.
So Conan Meriadoc was a legendary British Celtic leader credited with founding Brittany. Okay.
It's
Um,
okay to call them Celtic. You can say it with the hard K.
yeah.
I'm giving you the Celtic word
Did I say
pass.
Celtic? I didn't mean Celtic. I meant Celtic. Um,
Yeah,
da, da,
you'll think of
da.
sea salt, won't you?
So from at least the early 12th century of Amorica. So Amorica, fucking or Aremorica, was a region of Gaul between the Seine and the Loire that includes the Brittany Peninsula and much of historical
Look,
Normandy.
I can't read this Wikipedia article anymore. I'm going to look up like
Give us the
Catholic
Britannica.
online.
Uh,
Saint Ursula,
yeah,
Ursul,
it's needlessly wordy. This is.
Ursula. It's like a load of words, and I'm like, I don't understand anything of
You're not
what's being
telling me a
said.
story.
So why don't I go? Well, what about this Seton magazine? I can't find it in Catholic. Oh, hang on, Holy Trinity. That'll do. Saint Ursula and her
I've
companions.
finally got to the
Let's.
story part if you want that.
Well, yeah, because this is
So
taking a while
Ursula
to
could
load.
not. So Ursula could not refuse the marriage, but managed to delay the wedding by 3 years. During those 3 years, Ursula took part in a pan-European pilgrimage, accompanied by 10 virgins, who in turn would eventually be accompanied by 1,000 virgins each. That's a lot of
All right,
virgins.
I've got another telling of it here.
Got it.
So the source in here, this is from 1950. It's the Vie des Saints pour tous les jours de l'année. So that means the life of saints for all the days of the year. Saint Ursula was born in Great Britain of Christian parents. Her father Maurus was king of Cornurbia in Scotland. Ursula was sought in marriage by a young pagan prince, but had already vowed her life and her heart to Jesus Christ. In the year 383 of our Lord, she was boarded onto a boat with a large number of young girls and Christian women, whom a Roman conqueror wished to give as wives to his soldiers, after having endowed them with rich terrains. But during the crossing of the, I can tell that's a French translation. We would say rich soil land. But during the crossing of the channel, a storm arose, and the ships, instead of reaching Western Gaul, were driven towards the mouth of the Rhine, which is, hang on, do you have to go past Denmark for the mouth of the Rhine, or is it like in between the Netherlands and that stuff? Let's pretend it's in the lowlands.
Yeah.
The Huns, who at the time were ravaging Europe, saw the ships and were making ready to pillage and inflict on these virgins and women a dishonour more dreaded than death. Yeah, that is a very 1950s French way of describing violation, as they call it. Com-
Violation.
what that's in French, like the modern French term for the struggle with a snuggle
Yeah.
is violation, which I
I
think, you
believe they
know
call it
what?
grooming now.
Well, no, I'm talking about the physical acts, the not the events preceding it. So
Ah,
anyway, so
I found it.
the,
So the
the Huns
Rhine.
weren't going to, yeah.
So the Rhine comes up through Rotterdam, Netherlands.
Oh well, that's the lowlands then. So
Yeah.
it's west of Denmark. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they took up arms to be rid of. Oh wait, I'm getting a bit. I just got excited about violation. Yeah, so commanded by Ursula, they resisted heroically and so well that suddenly the sentiments of the barbarians changed. They took up their arms to be rid of this peaceful army. Soon the victims fell under the blows of the executioners, and their souls winged their way to heaven. The prince of the Huns, struck by Ursula's beauty, spared her at first. He tried to console her for the death of her companions and promised to marry her. When she did not assent, he shot her with an arrow. And oh yeah, so that's what we saw with uh, that's what we saw in the painting. She was considered the leader of 11,000 brought by the Romans from Great Britain. Many churches are relics of this army of martyrs, but no region is more richly endowed than that of Cologne, since that is the city that the Christians in the region devotedly carry the mortal remains of the martyrs. In the 7th century, a magnificent church arose over their tomb, whose walls itself served as reliquaries. This holy cemetery has been rendered illustrious by many miracles. Now, you know what this
Did you
story
say
reminds me of?
the funny bit when they said when the Huns tried to loot the companion ships, they discovered 11 legions of soldiers aboard, which scared them out of Cologne.
All right. So, Saint Ursula is the patron of young teachers, not old teachers,
Young
and many
ones.
and many
What the
congregations of
sort that have
nuns.
sex with teenage boys? It's kind of young teenage.
Yeah, dedicated to education bear names. So yeah, many congregations of nuns are dedicated to Saint Ursula. Now this story reminds me of a Spanish nun I remember. This would have probably been during the time of the, I think it's called the Umayyad Caliphate, before the Reconquista. And so this, Saracen barbarian is going around chopping the heads off of people, and she this barbarian wanted to violate her, and she said, if you violate me, then the secret of this holy oil I have will go be taken to my grave. He said, what do you mean holy oil? It's like, well, I've got this holy oil, right? And if you rub it onto an area of your body, then it will render all blows against it null and void. And if you like, I can put some on your neck, and no matter how hard I strike with your sword, it will cause you no harm. And this barbarian, right? He's not that dumb. He's just like, this just sounds like an excuse to chop my head off. How about we put the oil on your head? And she's like, yeah, okay, we'll do that then. So he puts the oil on her
I should
neck,
mention
and
after
then
much numbing and iron and a bit of sweating.
well, the story doesn't go into those sort of details, but
But you can
so
imagine that that's what happened.
what I'm going to do, you're going to read a bit in a sec, but I'm going
Yeah.
to finish the story and then I'm going to find out what the name of this nun was because I'm
I've got a
doing it
couple of
not.
extra facts about St Ursula as well.
Oh, good, right. So what I'll do is I'll find the name once I've said this story. So, yeah, she puts this oil on her neck and then says, "All right, proceed," and he does, and he chops her head off. And then he's kind of like lamenting because he realizes that he's been tricked because unfortunately the oil wasn't holy, it was just standard oil. And her head comes off.
5W40.
Yeah, well, it's just it was Shell top up oil or whatever. And the fact is, like, he sees her head there.
Prepco bargain basement oil.
and he sees the smug look on her face. It's just like, yeah, okay, so I'm dead now, but you didn't get to violate me in life.
Yeah.
So, she got one up on the dirty
Yeah, so that
Saracen
was a bit
fucker.
like True Romance when Dennis Hopper calls Christopher Walken the M word.
It's just like, look, I know I'm fucked either way here,
Yeah,
but at least this way I'll die with my virginity intact.
yeah.
Right, so whilst you do that, I'm going to find
Oh,
out the
they're
name
only
of this.
they're dead quick. So there's only one church dedicated to Saint Ursula in the United Kingdom. It's in Wales at Langwifferyfron. I do struggle with those Welsh names. Have you ever heard of the Ursulines? The Ursulines and the
No.
Virgin Islands are named after Saint Ursula and her companions.
Oh, where are those islands then?
British Virgin. It used to be the British Virgin. The
Oh,
British Virgin Islands. It's an
so those.
archipelago between the North Atlantic and the northeastern Caribbean, as the Yanks call it. Located to the immediate east of the main island of Puerto Rico, generally forms part of the Leeward Islands of the Lesser Antilles in the West Indies of the Caribbean region. So the
Would
Ursulines are part of that.
render
Yeah.
those anointed with the oil invulnerable. Let's see if I
Hold
can.
on, I've got a bit more here. So, the Basilica of St. Ursula in Cologne holds the alleged relics of Ursula and her 11,000 companions. It contains what has been described as a veritable tsunami of ribs, shoulder blades, and femurs, arranged in zigzags and swirls, and even in the shapes of Latin words. Fuck me. The Goldene Kammer, which is the Golden Chamber, a 17th century chapel attached to the Basilica of St. Ursula, contains sculptures of their heads and torsos, some of the heads encased in silver and others covered with stuff of gold and caps of cloth and velvet, loose bones, thickly textured the upper walls. That sounds glorious, that church does, doesn't it?
Right now, whilst you were saying that, I've found the story more about it, and I missed out an important detail in it. The fact is, so she was taken as this war bride for the Saracen to have his way with her. And she said, well, look, if you do that, then I won't be able to make this holy oil of invulnerability because it can only be prepared by a virgin.
Yeah.
And then he says, I'll demonstrate, I'll put it on my neck. And then she gets decapitated. So she gets to die with her virginity intact. So it's linked to Saint Febrona or Febronia of Syria, which, to me, that looks like a Spanish name, but Febrona. Through the classic Diocletian era martyr Febronia of Nisibis. Oh, yeah, Nisibis is definitely a Syrian place. It has a different passion narrative. The Oil and Saracen version seems to be a later legendary adaptation or a separate anonymous story. Well, no, I just say, is it a Saracen or something? But anyway, so the one 10th century Coptic account, Severus ibn Mufakka, mentions it in the context of Arab raids in Egypt. Others tied to 7th century Crusade era Saracen imagery. A scholarly note traces a version to the Persian sack of Jerusalem in 614 AD, with a nun using a ruse against a Persian warrior. So yeah, it's probably about Saint Febronia. So that's the story. Because I mentioned that because Saint Ursula reminded me of Saint Febronia,
So
which I
next we've
like.
got Saint Odilia. So she's a saint venerated in the Roman Catholic Church, although according to current
I want
liturgical.
to turn. I want to turn.
This is a
I
really
just
quick one. Her
I
feast
just
day,
realised I've had
18th
a
of July,
turn.
is not officially commemorated. She's a patron. She's the patroness of good eyesight, I bet.
Oh, I should pray to her then.
Yeah. So legend has few details about her. She's said to have lived in the 4th century, and she was one of Saint Ursula's crowd that got martyred. In 1287, Adila appeared to the brother of the Crozier order in Paris, and in response to her request, their relics were traced in Cologne and moved to their mother house at. How do you pronounce that? Huy in Belgium.
Huey. Huey.
Huey. Huey in Belgium. Along the way to
Or maybe
Huey,
it's
various
pronounced
obscures of.
Hoy.
What's that?
If you're in Belgium, how do you pronounce the town of Huy?
Well, it
Huy.
looks like Guy, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, but it's probably pronounced Huy.
Yeah.
Hang on. If I was a French person that spoke French, how would I pronounce Ash?
Well, you were.
H-U-Y. U. You know what? I am going to ask Google Translate, right? So let me find the name of this town. It's called Huy
Yeah.
in Belgium. I'm sorry, what saint were you talking about?
So this is Saint Odilia. So you need to pray to her a bit, get your eyesight back. So
Oh,
along the
yeah.
way to pronunciation to be determined, various cures of blindness and other infirmities happened. Some of her relics are now in a shrine in Onamia, Minnesota.
Oh, I actually got the name right first time round. It's Huy.
Hui.
Huy. Yeah.
Okay,
Huy.
there we
Yeah.
go. So that's that one. That's all there is about Odilia. Odilia of Cologne, she's called.
All right, let's see where is Huy in comparison to Wavre. There's Liège, and oh, there's Namur, right? So where's Wavre? If I was Wavre, I would be near Belgium, wouldn't I? I'd be near Brussels. So that's Waterloo. Oh, okay. Right. If you go south of Waterloo, you've got a town called Gort Saint Etienne, and I used to live there. And my dad said, "Oh, the real battle of Waterloo took place there." And it's like, yeah, but Dad, they wouldn't call it Battle of Waterloo, then would it? They'd have called it the Battle of Gort Saint Etienne. But oh yeah, and then you got the Wallaby, which is like their Chessington World of Adventures. It's a nice theme park. But yeah, so I'm looking at Huy, which it's between Liège and Namur. I think my cousins both live in Liège now. Oh, maybe I'll go see them. Come thing. Yeah, sorry about that. I was just all a bit like busy with thinking how to pronounce a very simple word in French. I do struggle with them French names.
Yeah, you do struggle with those French names, don't you? I bet.
Cunty bollocks in the Rumble chat says, "I for one like odd shaped boobs. I mean, one day you
Yeah.
might want to suck on the big one, suckle, and the next day a small one. Odd shaped boob saves you from having to have two wives."
Yeah. I thought you might do Saint Alban, patron saint of Cockneys next.
Well, but, it's my turn. It's my turn
It's
to
my
say a
turn.
saint
Go
now.
on then,
It's
your
my
turn.
turn. It's my
It's
turn.
my saint now.
But Saint Bartholomew.
Go on
Do you,
then.
do you want to do
Do
okay?
Saint Bart.
Yeah. So 24th of August is the feast day of Saint Bartholomew, and for those that are watching on the wireless, right, it's a bit of a grim one. So I'll try and describe it now. Traditionally, Saint Bartholomew is shown carrying a pelt of his skin around because he was skinned alive, unfortunately.
Isn't that going to sting a bit?
Uh, yeah, yeah, it wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
So, Bartholomew is one of the 12 disciples who followed Jesus after the baptism in the Jordan River. His name's included in the Synoptic Gospels as one of the apostles linked to the contemporary Philip.
Ah,
Oh,
but what
linked
did
to
the
his
church
contemporary.
fathers say about that?
Well, you see, Saint Bartholomew is one of the church fathers, so you'd have to say,
Okay.
yeah, I witnessed Jesus
He's
being
alright with that one then.
baptized by John the Baptist, and I thought it was pretty
We have
good.
to check in with the church fathers any time we talk about the Bible.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, you watch out because there's also the evangelicals get involved in this too, you see,
Yeah.
because you see, the fourth evangelist refers to him in accounts of the call of the first disciples, where Jesus reveals to this apostle that he had seen him under a fig tree before he had met him. The next day, Jesus had to go to Galilee, and he found Philip and said to him,
I
"Follow
gotta say,
me."
tonight's episode is very heavy on figs. I mean, if you do have an aversion to figs, you probably don't want to watch this episode.
I'll do a brief aside about figs. I used to have a phobia about eating them, and I actually really like figs, right? But figs, and this is one of those things that makes me think about God's creation, right? Because the fig tree is a plant,
Yeah.
and it's a plant. There is a wasp that lives symbiotically with the fig tree,
Mm.
and these two creatures can't live without one another. The fig tree will not pollinate without the wasp. The wasp will not be able to lay its eggs in anything else but fig. And like, it sounds a bit grim because it's like, well, I don't want to eat something with wasps' eggs in it. But then I found out and this was a really strange thing. I'm just like, okay, this isn't really a plant, and that's not really a wasp. It's kind of like the wasp is the sperm cell, and the fig is the womb, and it's not even like that's not even hyperbole. If you look at how the fig fruit works, it very much has the structure of a uterus. And what happens is after it's been pollinated by the wasps and they've like germinated and they've gone off to pollinate other figs, the fig has the plant equivalent of a menstrual cycle. It flushes out all the dead wasp bits, and that's when it seals up and it forms the fruits with all the seeds in it, and then the figs can continue. And when I found out about that, I'm just like, well, it's not really a plant, is it? It's a symbiotic creature. So it's part insect and part plant. It's not one or the other. So it's very and the thing is, I mean, figs are quite nice. So I will say that. But if you eat them, they're a bit more fleshy tasting than other fruit. And I may just be hyperbolizing things.
Mm.
No, no, just it's a strange thing. But anyway, let's talk about
For
Saint
those of you
Bart.
watching at
So,
home, I've got
yeah,
watching at home. I've got a cheery site. It's
yeah.
the Martyrdom of Saint Bartholomew. I don't know who painted it though.
Oh, was it by Caravaggio? Caravaggio likes to paint gory
It's,
stuff.
how about that one?
Let's have a look at this. Oh no, that's not Caravaggio. This is a
Oh no,
bit
this one's
too.
even worse.
Yeah, that's some old medieval thing. So, Fremen, is figgy pudding made from figs? Yes, it is. As is plum pudding. Plum pudding is made from plums. So, I have a big long. Oh,
Uh,
actually, no. This story's not too
what
long
do you think of
about
this
this,
one,
Rob.
Hobbit?
But the reason I wanted to mention Saint Bartholomew is because he is very male. Now, there's two things to this story. One is he got skinned alive. He's a martyr. And the other thing is he said to Jesus, he said to him, I want to
Yeah,
see
there's a lot of
how.
very gory images of of They really
He
like
said,
depicting Saint Bartholomew, didn't they?
he said to Jesus, says, look, without I want you to send me to hell and then take me out of it. And then Bartholomew was exposed to the horrors of hell for an indeterminate period of time. And then Jesus did pluck him out of there. And after he was done with it, he just said, look, Jesus, you've got to do something about all those souls suffering in there. They can't just be allowed to suffer in there for eternity. You got to save them. And the thing is, Bartholomew's like plea to our Lord was so convincing that Jesus said, "Look, all right, I'll go down there for 3 days and I'll sort out the devil, and we'll get those people out of there."
So is this after
And
after Jesus went to?
so,
Is this
well,
so?
that
Is
would
this after the crucifixion when Jesus went into hell? Then is that when he did it?
yeah. So that's one of the reasons because Saint Bart convinced him to go to hell. He didn't say go to hell, Jesus. He said, "Look,
Oh my
you've got
God!
to
Have you seen
rescue
the
these
statue
people."
of him? Seen the statue of Saint
Yes,
Bartholomew
yes, I have.
Fucking
I
hell.
know the one you're talking about,
in
and
Milan?
it's one of the goriest statues I've seen. It's literally a skeleton with muscles on it, and he's carrying a pout of his skin, and that's how he's depicted. According to tradition, he travelled extensively on mission, preaching the good news to people in distant places like Cappadocia, Upper India, various areas of the Middle East, and Armenia. However, there is no certainty about his precise itinerary. According to medieval legend, Bartholomew was skinned and beheaded. He is depicted in iconography with a knife in one hand
I bet
and
you'd
a
have rather
book in
did it
the
the other way
other.
around.
So he's depicted book in one hand, knife in the other, and as in some places he has his skin over his arm like a cloak. Many churches were dedicated to him throughout the
Well, he
centuries, and he
has in
was
that
worshipped.
statue, hasn't he? He's got the it's covered in his
Yeah,
private. He's wearing it like a bit like a toga, isn't he? Not
yeah,
a toga.
yeah,
Not a toga. It's not quite a toga, is it? But
like a loincloth. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. He's worshipped by many faithful, who often ask for his intercession, especially for skin diseases. According to Armenian tradition, the apostle's body was buried in Albanopolis. So he was buried in the White City. of Alban, where he was martyred in 507 AD. Emperor Anastasius had his body moved to Daros in Mesopotamia and dedicated a church to him. In 1580, part of his mortal remains were taken to Lipari in Sicily. In 883, during the Saracen raids, the relics were moved to Benevento, and in 998, German Emperor Otto III had a church built in his honor on the Tiber Island, where the remains of two martyrs were laid to rest. Bartholomew the Apostle, whose remains are in the main altar, and Saint Adalbert, Bishop of Prague, killed in 907, as he evangelized pagan peoples in far northern area of
You've seen
Christian
this
Europe.
one? The other one where he's got the skin. He's got. I think he's okay. I think his body's okay, so it must be kind of post-death, but he's also carrying his pelt.
Yeah. Well, I find it a very just find it a very interesting story.
So what are we going to do next then? Do you want to do Saint Alban?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we
So
are
he's the
gonna.
patron saint of converts, refugees, and torture victims.
Oh,
kind
dear.
of follows on from the previous one, doesn't it?
I was going to say, that's a. I didn't realise I was setting him up for Saint Alban.
Let's see. What do you want? Venerable Bede's account. There's loads of accounts.
Yeah,
We'll do
yeah, let's
Venerable
do that.
Bede's account. So the best known account is Bede's Ecclesiastical History of the English People, written in 731. So in the 3rd or 4th century, so there's some hoo-ha over the dates, Christians began to suffer cruel persecution. However, Gildas says he crossed the Thames before his martyrdom, so as some authors place his residence and martyrdom in or near Londinium. Both agree that Alban met a priest fleeing from persecutors and sheltered him in his house for a number of days. The priest, who later came to be called Amphibulus, which is Latin for cloak, prayed and kept watch all day and night. So Alban was so impressed with the priest's faith and piety that he found himself emulating him and soon converting to Christianity. Eventually it came to the ears of an unnamed impious prince that Alban was sheltering the priest. The prince gave orders for the Roman soldiers to make a strict search of Alban's house. As they came to seize the priest, Alban put on the priest's cloak and clothing and presented himself to the soldiers in place of his guest. Alban was brought before a judge who then happened to be standing at the altar offering sacrifices to devils. Bede's reference to pagan gods in quotation marks. When the judge heard that Alban had offered himself in place of the priest, he became enraged that Alban would shelter a person who despised and blasphemed the gods. And as Alban had given himself up in the Christian's place, Alban was sentenced to endure all the punishments that were to be inflicted upon the priest, unless he would comply with the rites of their pagan religion. Alban refused and declared, "I worship and adore the true living God who created all things." The words are still used in prayer at St. Alban's Abbey. The enraged judge ordered Alban to be scourged, thinking that a whipping would shake the consistency of his heart, but Alban bore these torments patiently and joyfully. Okay then, bit of one of those then, I bet. When the judge realised the tortures would not shake his faith, he gave orders for Alban to be beheaded.
Oh, that reminds me of the story of this martyr. And it was like, turn me over, I'm done on this side.
Alban was led to execution, and this is the really good bit. He presently came to a fast-flowing river that could not be crossed, believed to be the River Ver. So the River Ver is a long chalk stream in Hertfordshire, England. It's a tributary of the River Colne. There was a bridge, but a mob of curious townspeople who wished to watch the execution had so clogged the bridge the execution party could not cross. Filled with an ardent desire to arrive quickly at martyrdom, Alban raised his eyes to heaven, and the river dried up, allowing Alban and his captors to cross over on dry land. The astonished executioner cast down his sword and fell at Alban's feet, moved by divine inspiration and praying he might either suffer with Alban or be executed for him. Other executioners hesitated to pick up his sword, and meanwhile Alban and they went about 500 paces to a gently sloping hill, completely covered with all kinds of wildflowers overlooking a beautiful plain. Bede observes this was a fittingly beautiful place to be enriched and sanctified by a martyr's blood. When Alban reached the summit of the hill, he began to thirst and prayed God would give him water. A spring immediately sprang up at his feet. It was there that his head was struck off, as well as the head of the first Roman soldier who was miraculously converted and refused to execute him. However, immediately after delivering the fatal stroke, the eyes of the second executioner popped out of his head and dropped onto the ground, along with Alban's head, so that the second executioner could not rejoice over Alban's death.
Brutal.
That's another grim one.
So I got a bit of a fun, say a bit of a fun story. I mean, the fact is, he died cracking jokes, so you
Yeah.
know, I'm going to say it's a fun one. So Saint Lawrence, right? Have you heard of Saint Lawrence?
Nope.
He was one of the deacons of Pope Saint Sixtus II.
Yeah.
During the persecution of Christians by Emperor Valerian in 258 AD, the Pope was executed and Lawrence was arrested shortly after. So, according to the well known legend, the Roman prefect demanded that Lawrence hand over the treasures of the church. Lawrence gathered the poor, sick, and needy people the church cared for and presented them, saying, "Here are the treasures of the church." Enraged, the prefect ordered Lawrence to be roasted alive on a large iron grill over hot coals. So when enduring this torture, Lawrence is quipped as saying, "No, it's one of three variants." Now, bear in mind, this is being translated from Italian. "Turn me over, I'm done on this side." Or, "This side is roasted enough, turn me over." Or, "I'm well done on this side." He is said to have died with prayer and humour, showing remarkable courage and faith. His feast day is August the 10th. So, he's the patron saint of cooks, chefs, comedians,
Fuck's sake.
deacons, the poor, firemen, and others.
Fucking hell,
Oh,
he's a
and
busy fella, isn't he?
it's like, oh, who's the patron saint of others? Saint Lawrence, then. He's also invoked against burns and fire. He's one of the most venerated early Roman martyrs, with the Basilica of San Lorenzo, Fiori de Mura, in Rome, built over his tomb. That's a good title, isn't it? Basilica di San Lorenzo, Fiori de Mura. The story, involving the gridiron and the quip, comes from early Christian writers like Prudentius and St. Ambrose, though some details are legendary embellishments common in ancient martyr accounts. Now, I have a story of St. Simon of Trent, and I am going to read this from the Jewish Encyclopedia, the unedited full text of the 1906 Jewish Encyclopedia. Right, so this is written by Joseph Jacobs and Aaron Tenzer. You see, Simon, or Schmidl of Trent, was a child victim of the alleged ritual murder of Jews by Trent. He was the son of Andreas Unverdusben, which doesn't sound like a very Italian name there. Andreas Unverdusben, a cobbler, a tenor in Trent, and he was burned in November the 26th, 1372. You see, the harmonious relations between the Christians and the Jews in Trent excited the anger of semi-demented Franciscan friar. But so semi-demented. He's not full demented. He's
Not full demented.
semi-demented. Yeah,
I'd
semi-demented
put him back on the
Francis.
streets then.
Yeah, semi-demented Franciscan friar Bernardinus of Feltre, who was the son of a notorious enemy of the Jews. In his Lenten sermons of 1375, he endeavored to incite the people against them because, you see, the Jews are so wonderful people. They just live in harmony with the Christians all the time. We don't call them gay. So what's going on here? But instead provoked displeasure on the part of the Christians. Then he predicted that the next Jewish Passover, a ritual murder would occur, which is, blood libel. In accordance with this prediction, the child Simon, who was 28 months old, disappeared on March 23rd, 1475. Bernardus of Feltre, Johann Schweitzer, a neighbor of the Jews, and at last the excited people themselves declared that the child would be found among the Jews. But a careful search for the Jewish quarter, ordered by Bishop Hinderbach and executed by the Podesta of Trent, Johann Sala, proved fruitless. These names are sounding a bit like Schweizer and Bishop Hinderbach. These do not sound like Italian names. This is like Simon of Trento, right? And I'm pretty sure
Are we
Trento.
saying they're the people who look like
I am
Italians, but they're not?
I'm gonna say Trento, right? Trento. That is part of Italy. Yeah, the autonomous province of Trento in Italy. Ah, So, right, I think I understand what's going on, right? So, you know where Verona is in Italy? It's to the west of Venice. Trento is north of Verona. So it's about an hour's drive from the Liechtenstein border. So, oh, Innsbruck. Sorry, it's about an hour's drive from Austria. So you're probably getting a few German people, well, German-speaking people there. So what we got there? And at last, the excited people themselves declared church overthrown. So you see, on the eve of Easter morning, March 26, some Jews noticed the body of the child in the river near the house of one of their number named Samuel. Without a moment's delay, three of them, Tobias, physician, Samuel, and Angelus, hastened to notify the bishop, but were not admitted to his presence. The podesta, who is the podesta? The podesta, however, visited the house of Samuel, took possession of the child's body, and ordered the arrest of those present: Samuel, Angelus, Tobias, Israel, Bonaventura, Toath, and the second Bonaventura, who was the cook. After a medical examination of the body, it was stated that death was the result of violence, none of accidental drowning. A baptized Jew, Johann Felcher, who had then been a prisoner for several years for theft, seized the apparent opportunity to shorten the term of imprisonment by declaring the Jews used the blood of Christians for ritual purposes at Passover. On the strength of this allegation, other members of the Jewish community, women and children, were arrested. The proceedings against them began on March 28th. The accused pleaded not guilty and denounced two men, Johann Schweizer, who had access to the river flowing by Samuel's house, and for a long time had been the enemy of the Jews,
You
and the
sound like a
German
cross between Ben Shapiro and Casey Kasem.
and the German tailor Enzelin. Johann Schweizer and his wife were arrested for proven alibis regards the 23rd of March. Though only for the daytime, they were finally liberated from prison in a miraculous manner. The miraculous there is in scare quotes. So torture suffered by the Jews. Then began days and nights of torture for the Jews, where they were forced to do an honest day's work and not charge usury for people. Oh, it was terrible. Investigation by the papal envoy. But the cruelty of the proceedings had aroused general indignation. Pope Justus V, who was an evil guy, aligned for the reputation of the church, commanded Bishop Hinterberg on the 3rd of August to again suspend proceedings until the arrival of the papal commissary, Bishop Guillaume Battista de Sendicia, who jointly with the Bishop of Trent would conduct the investigation. I do struggle with those Italian names. The papal agent had been fully instructed beforehand after making an investigation. He denied the martyrdom of the child Simon and disputed the occurrence of a miracle in his grave. Sixtus V had already anticipated this denial in his encyclical of October the 10th, 1475. The commissary uncovered the tissue of lies, but when he demanded the immediate release of the Jews, he was denounced by the bishop and assaulted by the mob. I've been compelled to withdraw to Ravaridiridio. Thence, fortified by his instructions, he summoned the bishop and podesta to answer for their conduct. Instead of appearing, Bishop Hindenburg answered by a circular directed to the churchmen describing the martyrdom of Simon, justifying his own share in the proceedings, and denouncing the work of the Bishop of Ventimiglia as corruptum inquisitorium. While the papal commissary was taking insulin. What does taking Enzelin mean? I don't know. The supposed actual murderer, a prisoner to Rome for trial, the Bishop of Trent and the Podesta. Is the Podesta like some Jew foreman or something? Because I'm just thinking of John Podesta every time I say that.
Yeah, and his
I'm
weird
like,
looking brother.
you know, it's like he's been
Are you
alleged
thinking
to
of
have.
them or are you thinking of their Madeleine McCann mugshots?
I keep thinking about like the last two men seen with Madeleine McCann look like the Podesta brothers, and I'm just
Yeah.
wondering, is the Podesta like a professional child kidnapper? Is that what the Podesta means? But you see, and the Podesta continued their
It means
proceeding against.
collector of weird art.
Oh, I see. And the Podesta continued their proceeding against the Jews, several of whom they executed. Oh, yeah. The Bishop of Ventimiglia reported to Rome that as a result of careful investigations, he found the Jews innocent and saying to be killed by Christians who with the
It is a
intention of
very
ruining the.
good voice hobbit. I'll give you that, but I'm not actually taking anything you're saying.
It is very wordy, but
Yeah.
in summary, Jews did nothing wrong, and the Christians, who
Well, they
for no
instigated
reason,
it. The Christians
for
obviously instigated
yeah,
it.
the Christians for no reason whatsoever were just mad and
Yeah,
decided, you know what, let's go and persecute some Jews for no reason whatsoever.
yeah.
And it was just an accident that Simon drowned in the
A bit like
Podesta's.
Somalians in modern day Golders Green. They
Well,
do
it's just
scary.
it's a mental health issue. That's all it
Yeah.
is. The fact is, occasionally 2-year-old little boys are found in the stranger's house where they're drowned to death after showing signs of violence having been done to them. So we're almost to the end of this stuff. The
Fraser's
bishop
awake
of
now.
the Bishop of Ventimiglia reported Rome that as a result of careful investigations, he found the Jews innocent and so to be killed by
Oh, well, thank God for
Christians.
that. Little's
With
well that
the
ends well.
You see, the Christians, they had the intention of ruining the Jews, so they just murdered their own little
Yeah, no
bird.
reason
Said it was
whatsoever.
it's the Jews that did this. The Jews, we're going to sacrifice one of our own goyim to make the Jews look bad. We did it on the Passover.
After all, it was the Romans that crucified Jesus, weren't it?
Yeah, it was nothing to do with the Jews. We just went to Barabbas, and the Romans said, well, you could have Barabbas, but then we're going to execute Jesus. We had nothing to do with him, yeah. Sixtus IV then appointed a commission of 6 cardinals to investigate the two proceedings. The head of the commission being an initiate friend of Bernardinus of Feltre, the result was a
That's quite a
foregone
job then.
conclusion. Yeah, it's no. I mean, what? I mean, the Jews are it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jews are innocent, especially since the whole Catholic Church would have been involved in the condemnation of the Bishop of Trent. Accordingly, in the decree of June the 20th, 1478, Fecit non Pietis, Sixtus AV declared the proceedings against the Jews in Trent to be writ et resi factum, both, which is, I don't know what that is. I know factum means fact.
What does receipt
Uh,
mean?
yeah, I don't know. Both Benedict of Feltre and Simon of Trent are said to have been canonized by Gregory the XIII about a century later. The former is a
Did we not
prophet,
know
and the
the
latter is.
incredibly anti-Semitic acts that this man had created, that this man had done?
Yeah, you see, and then the latter is a martyr, and we got a whole bibliography here. Like we've got a whole long list of names. Like we got Rolling, we've got oh, we got another thing. This is quoting from a thing called Dispas, les mystères du
Cunty
sang
Bollocks would like to
chez
know,
les.
are fish real, Hobbit?
Yes, Dispas, les mystères du sang chez les Juifs, which is a French book saying, what's this mystery about Jewish blood rituals that happen at Passover, and why is it, statistically speaking, you can look at the FBI statistics here, and this is what I'm referring to, right? Why is it that during the time of Passover, which is a very anti Semitic canard, so I will just preface it by saying that, right? Because we love Israel in this stream, right? But why is it during the
Greatest country
Passover?
in the world, without a
Yeah,
doubt.
it really is, we love Israel.
Yeah.
But why is it, right, that during the Jewish holiday of Passover, we get a spike in missing children which are never found again? Well, what's up with that? Well, is that just like evil Christians that just go, oh, you know what? If we murder some of our own children, we can blame the Jews on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it worked with Saint Simon of Trent.
Yeah.
This poor little 2-year-old child who was bled alive and tortured and buggered.
Allegedly.
You know, well, it's not really alleged what they did to him, but he didn't die pleasantly.
It's alleged who did what, who did it to him.
Yeah. The allegations, the Jews did it, but as the Jews said there in the Jewish
Yeah, you just
Encyclopedia,
blame the Jews
it
for
was
everything.
well, exactly. I mean, in the Jewish
That's why we used the
Encyclopedia,
bog roll, and the whole day we blamed it on the Jews.
well, exactly. But the fact is, if you look there in the Jewish Encyclopedia, it clearly says the Christians did that to their own child because they hate
Yeah.
the Jews.
Yeah, of course.
And
they would.
and you see, if you hate the Jews, like those people of Trent did
You
in the
lose.
2nd century, what you got to do, right, is you've got to murder your own children, and that'll stick it to the Jews.
Yeah.
Because the Jews hate it when goyim children are killed. They absolutely. If
After all,
there's
you murder
one-
your own kid, it's them that lose, isn't it?
if the most insulting thing you can do to a Jew is to murder your own child, they absolutely hate it when goyim children die. In fact, you know what? I've seen some things recently in this war with Israel and the evil Persians,
Yeah.
and like I can tell they really, really hate it when Goyim children, the Persian children, die, and that's why they've been missile striking hospitals with children in them because they hate it when Goyim children die. We love Israel, by the way. This is an Israel supporting stream. I just need to make that clear for anybody listening. We love
Israel is our
Israel.
favourite country.
Look,
In fact, next year we're hoping to go podcasting with Tommy Robinson.
Yeah,
Who else went?
Rabbi Robinson, Liam Tufts, yeah.
Favourite podcast with this show, Liam Tufts.
Look, all I'm saying is another 20 billion for
Hopefully
Israel.
Footlong will go as well if Liam Tufts is going.
What about my Ghanaian mate from Ghana, who's Ghanaian?
The British guy.
Yeah. Is he welcome?
Hopefully he's going.
Yeah. What about Purple Aki? Is he allowed?
Yeah,
I think he likes Israel.
And Nigel Farage.
Oh, Nigel Farage loves Israel.
And Richard
Jacob,
Thomas.
do you know Jacob Rees-Mogg? He likes Israel.
Does he?
I don't think I don't think he loves Israel, but I do think he likes Israel. You know, I would keep a close eye on that guy. I think he might not be, loving Israel as much as we do here on Fortean Words. Yeah. But that was Simon of Trent, who was sainted and then was unsainted because, well, later Pope said, oh, well, look, the you-know-whos are being a bit sort of screechy all the fucking time about this. So if we just decanonize him, it's like, we'll know secretly he's a saint.
Yeah.
But, if we just decanonize him, that will hopefully get them off our back because they're very reasonable people that aren't vindictive.
Right, so...
Who's this William of Norwich, the part-time casual says?
William of Norwich? I don't know who William of Norwich is.
Yeah,
And William of Norwich.
Yeah, and William
Was
of
he
Norwich.
anti-Semitic as well?
Well, maybe he was pro-Semitic. Maybe he was like the ancestor of Tommy Robinstein.
William of Norwich. It was an apprentice. It was an apprentice who lived in the English city of Norwich and was murdered during Easter 1144. The city's French-speaking Jewish community was blamed by some for his death, but the crime was never solved. So, it could have been anybody.
I didn't realise
it's just
this.
part and parcel of living in Norwich, though, isn't it?
Sorry, I got to interrupt the show talking about saints to say that the patron saint of search engines, Ask Jeeves, is come to an end. It's officially closed on the 1st of May 2026. You know what? If ever there was a candidate for we're an AI chatbot now, it would be Ask Jeeves.
What happened to Ask Jeeves? I didn't think it even existed anymore.
Well, apparently it's been running up until the 1st of May. And now we're in the 2nd of
running
May.
it into the ground then. Well, why were they just running it into the ground?
Born in Berkeley, California in 1996, Ask Jeeves was the author of several books as well as being pioneer of natural language search. In 2006, he dropped the name Jeeves and later became 3D. He is survived by Connie, the AOL mascot. Is this some fucking, April... Well, it's not April Fool's.
So do you want to talk about Saint Sybe or Saint Cuby in Cornish?
Yeah.
Vita of Sybe, found in 2 Latin forms written about 1200, is a very doubtful value, but may be right in making him the son of a Cornish noble who was Princeps Militiae. So anyway, he did that. Went on a pilgrimage to Byzantine Judea. He was appalled at the church in Israel and considered it an invader of Christ's land. In Judea, he found Jewish Christians and became anointed by a Nazarene Christian who was a Jewish man descendant of Jesus' brothers. Blah blah blah. So then he came back to Wales. Sybe then moved on to South Wales, founding churches at Llangybe between Usk and Caerleon in Monmouthshire and Llanfwrdd. I think I've just developed a
I struggle with those Cornish names.
I do struggle with those fucking Welsh names. According to legend, Sybe is supposed to have crossed the Bristol Channel with 10 followers. The local Duke Edelig son of Gluis, threatened to evict them from his land, but he approached them and he fell from his horse, which died. Then he and his men became blind. Edelig then prostrated himself and gave his body and soul to God, and he and his attendants were immediately cured and the horse restored to life. So all's well that ends well. Sybe was great mates with Saint Cyril. You ever heard of Cyril, Hobbit?
Excuse me. Yes, I have heard of it because it's an unusual name.
Yeah.
Oh, the Jeeves part had been dropped like 15 years ago. It was rebranded as just Ask. Oh,
Arx.
is that why
Why didn't they call it
the,
Arx? And then,
well,
and
I was going to say
and then go for the
certain demographics who shall remain nameless,
yeah,
but St. Christopher's not one of them, struggle with the word ask.
yeah.
Yeah.
So have we done enough saints now? You got any more saints you want to talk about?
Look, I think we had a good Saints podcast. We didn't do all the Saints, but we did some of the Saints. And, you know, the Saints do some interesting things. They do some Fortean things. I mentioned about the Lady of Fatima,
Like
which was
Saint Valentine, the patron saint of bargain basement chocolate.
yeah. The Saint Valentine is the patron saint of late February
Patron
sales
saint
in
of lovers
chocolate.
because he had his heart cut out and given to him. That's it's a bit on the nose, isn't it?
Do you know the thing when people say, "Oh, this heavy metal music is demonic"? I'm like, I think you'll find it is very fitting with the Catholic Church. It's all memento mori.
Yeah.
For those of you not familiar, there's this thing called memento mori, which is art which venerates the dead. And one of my one famous example, a type of memento mori is
Oh shit! I've just found one, Hobbit. I've just found one. Saint Neot.
just quickly. A type of memento mori is ossuaries. You will see chapels in various places around the world where the bones of martyrs and various people are used to make the altars and walls and such.
Saint
So
Neot,
Saint
who's the
Neot,
patron
yeah.
saint of fish.
Oh, okay.
Let's find the where is it? So another hermit. So after do you want the like go straight to the end, or do you want to know a bit about his early life and stuff?
I just go to the end.
Just go to the end. So Neot's death. After his journey to Rome and his return to Neotstoke, Neot now remained there for the rest of his life. In the year 877, he became ill with a progressive illness described as languor, and sensing the approach of death, took the Holy Communion. Having refreshed his spirit by participation of the emblems of his Saviour's death, like a faithful shepherd, he addressed his own little flock. He exhorted them to live in peace and spoke much of the means by which the salvation of the soul might be promoted. He then committed his soul to the mercy of the Almighty, and stretching forth his hands towards heaven, breathed out his spirit in the midst of psalmody, the singing of psalms and prayers. He died on 31st July 877, and 31st July is his Saint's Day. He was buried in the church which he himself built upon the site of the more ancient chapel dedicated to Saint Gerir. 7 years later, a larger and more appropriate building had been made by the monks of Neotstoke, and Neot's body was reinterred at the north side of the altar. I don't get why he's fish though.
Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know why he's a fish. It appeared that the future of the priory of St. Neots and the remains lodged there was secure. However, after a few years, a Danish attack on the area was anticipated, and for safety, the relics that is the remains of St. Neot of Neot were transferred for safety to a place thought to be less susceptible to Danish attack. Lewina, a lady of Eansbury and the sister of Oscatel, the abbot of Croyland, now Crowland, arranged for the relics to be taken to her property at Whittlesea. She sent a message to Oxall asking him to come with a force of monks and take the relics to Croyland Abbey. They did so, although at that time the marshy district was almost impenetrable. This event probably took place in 10,003. The priory of Neotsbury, that is St. Neots, was destroyed by the Danes in 1010. They were pagans and had no scruples about destroying religious relics. It is not known whether the Danes attempted the destruction of the first priory, but Young says if they did so, the building was rather repaired or rebuilt, since it's recorded that the bones of St. Neot had been restored to the priory by 1020. So there you go.
Ugh,
That's St. Neot.
cool.
Oh, there is no record of the fate of the shrine. The ferret.
Who's the patron saint of dogs that keep barking?
Can you hear my dog then? Can you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's St. Jude, isn't it? The patron saint of lost
Do,
causes.
do me a favour, right? Call your dog a cunt.
He's a dick. No, he's a dick.
He'll-
He's not a cunt. He's a dick. I always
I
call
know.
him a dick.
But call him that from me. Tell him he's annoying. He'll understand.
I just call him a dick. That's what he is.
It is a thing, right? I just got to say here at the Hobbit Hole, right? We like dogs. We respect dogs, except for Hemi's
But there's
dog.
something seriously wrong with my dog. I think my dog actually has autism.
Your dog is just no. Your dog's a dickhead.
He is
right?
a special little boy.
We're not using the. Your dog is not Mark Lane, right? Your dog is more like Smoking Essie. If you want to know, Smoking Essie is the patron
Hey,
saint
you
of pervert.
YouTubers.
Smoking Essie is the patron saint of perverts.
Yeah. To be fair, today's one wasn't very perverted.
I don't know because I just skip through all of them. They're all the same. Hey, YouTubers, do you touch your pecker? Do you touch your pecker? Do you touch your penis? Do
Hey,
you touch your penis when you're
YouTubers.
jerking off?
Do you like it when a woman farts and follows through? Do you like
You
that? Do you like that YouTubers, big motherfuckers with a big motherfucking turd
Big
hanging
ass
out of a
cigars,
girl's ass?
you know, with the turds coming over us, you know, the big ass cigars. Do you jerk your pecker
Big
to a
ass
woman
cigar
that shits
turd.
shits herself and
Why
there's
is it
turds
Spice
in her
Mike and Essie
vagina?
turns into Donald Trump?
You know, these women, they shit themselves. I'm here stroking my pecker, my big ass pecker like a big ass cigar, and I'm going, does that turn you on? Is that pretty hot? I think it's pretty hot. I think it's pretty cool. But some people, they say it's gross.
Hey,
they say it's
you
not.
voters! Did they think Donald Trump should start all of his speeches with "Hey, you voters"?
Hey, Americans, how's it hanging? You big ass Americans with your big ass cigars. You should vote for me. You should totally vote for me. When it comes to time to vote, just think, do you like women that fart in your face? Because that's what I'm going to promise you. Women farting in your face. Another $20 billion to Israel so women can fart in your face. Vote for me if you want women to fart in your face. Saint Ursula, protect me from women farting in my face. I don't think Saint Ursula's going to protect me from that, is she?
No, I don't think so.
No.
The patron saint of odd whips.
Who's the patron saint of like keeping me like away from Smoking Essie for the rest of my life?
That's Saint Richie.
Oh, do you want some good news here? Or, well, I should say, there's terribly anti-Semitic news, and it's bad, and I love Israel, right? Greece's highest court has issued a landmark ruling saying that we really hate Jews, we want them to suffer. But what they've said here is, in fact, animals must be made unconscious before they are killed.
Oh.
So I think this is terribly anti-Semitic, and I'll be writing to the Jewish Daily Congress and the ADL and saying,
what does the chief rabbi of
Greece
say
say
about this?
Well, he just says it affects halal and kosher slaughter. It's terrible. I think it's really bad.
Oh, I've got St. Neot's miracles. So Neot was of small stature, 4 feet tall. An important visitor arrived at Glastonbury Church, of which Neot was sacrist, responsible for the general management of the building. The visitor knocked loudly, but when he had arrived at a time when the occupants, including Neot, were taking a midday nap. Okay, lazy bleeders. Is he Spanish? St. Neot was eventually woken by the visitor's knocking and went to open the door to him. He was approached from within by a step upwards, so that the lock was very high from the place where Neot could stand and he could not reach it. He is thus distressed, so this is a quote now. He is thus distressed exceedingly when at last, wonderful to be seen, the lock descends from its height to the level of his monastic sash. The lock remained thus low during a long time afterwards for a witness to the mighty miracle being lowered assuredly in the consequence of St. Neot's distress, the continuing lowered long after St. Neot was gone. Whitaker asserts in reality Neot fetched an iron stool, enabling him to reach the lock, and there left it for later use. This is how the lock lowered for Neot to reach.
Was the patron saint of hard workers? Because I reckon it must be a Korean.
Yeah.
You know how in Korea they're like, well, there's 140. Hang on, let me
I haven't
calculate
done
this
them all
right.
now.
How many
There's
hours
another
are
one
there
here.
in a week?
Next reported miracle took place in Cornwall, where Neot lived as a hermit. What is it with saints being hermits? I bet. Can you explain
Well,
this to me?
I would explain it with some mathematics. So there are 168 hours in a week, right? And Koreans work for 140 of those hours.
No,
And
what I need explaining is why so many saints are
are
hermits.
hermits. Well, it's very simple, right? You see, people are annoying, and if you live away from them, you can contemplate like how good life is
Yeah,
because you're away from all the annoying people,
yeah,
and you can say, "Thanks, God, I really appreciate how nice and peaceful my life is." And God's like, "Yeah, you're good, thanks. No, you're good, bro. I love you too." And it's nice, you see. There's I forget his name. He was a Greek saint, and he said that silence allows you to hear God's voice, and it's something which I will be doing in 4 minutes' time, because that is when the show will be ending in 4 minutes. But I would just like to say, right, the patron saint of hard workers must be Korean, and the way I know this is they work 144 hours out of 168 hours in a week. And the average, the median salary in Korea is $32,000 per annum. Spain, which, if we're going to do like the top 10 laziest countries in the world, Montenegro and Spain would be in the top three, right? Spain, who, I don't need to say anything about the Spanish work ethic. We all know what a siesta is,
the
right?
sleepy people.
Do you want to know what their median salary is in
Go on then.
Spain? 33,000 a year.
Well, that's just the
So
gender pay gap.
what? But there's more males in South Korea.
That's the
than
racism.
Spanish.
That's the racism pay gap.
Hey yo, you be racist to Koreans and shit.
Yeah,
Hey, well they do like fried chicken and corn dogs and watermelon and
yeah,
circumcisions and all that. So
yeah.
maybe Koreans are
So
actually.
anyway, let me just bang these two out because it's nearly time to come to content.
Yeah.
So perpetual fish pond. So when he was living as a hermit, fish pond. Angel told him you can only take one. Is manservant took two. St. Neot was like, fucking hell, what have you done? I was totally told to take one. Throws the two back in. The fish are fine. Then he takes one, eats it, and he's fine again. That's another one of the miracles. What's this one? So a fox stole St. Neot's shoe. While Neot was absent from the spring, a fox was passing, discovered the lost shoe, picked it up, ran off with it in order that the saint might not be scandalised by so mean a thing. The fox was miraculously cast into a deep sleep and died, having the thongs of the shoe in his vile mouth. That's very nice, isn't it? He killed a fox.
Well, God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah, deer pulled the plough. Although he'd been a hermit, Neot farmed land at the monastery and used oxen to pull the plough. One night some thieves came and stole the oxen. He has a lot of bad luck, old St. Neot, doesn't he? There was a great herd of stags near the place. Neot ordered them to be yoked to the plough like oxen to pull the plough. At the saint's command, the stags left their pasture and came to bow their necks under the yoke. They were all yoked to the plough and pulled it every day. They returned to their usual pastures in the evening, but came back every morning for another day of ploughing. The thieves heard of this miracle and went to Neot and asked for his forgiveness, which he promptly granted to them. Realising their life of crime was wicked, they asked to be admitted as monks and spent the rest of their lives in prayer. As the oxen had been returned to Neot by the thieves, he commanded the stags to return to their natural life, but their progeny bore a mark recording the event, a ring of white like a yoke about their necks, and on that part of the neck where they used to bear the yoke. Fucking more. Jesus Christ, he was a busy lad. Hunting dogs were repelled. One day, St. Neot was singing the psalms at the spring when a doe was being chased by the huntsman's dogs. She came in terror to Neot and lay down at his feet, and by her anxious pantings he implored his aid. The pursuing dogs wished to tear her into pieces, and approaching, They soon showed signs of their fury and the loudness of their barking. However, when they saw the doe at the feet of St. Neot, they ran away as if they'd been struck with a stick or spear, and Neot commanded the doe to depart in safety. The huntsman was a noble gentleman and went to Neot in submission and asked advice on how he should conduct his life, and on Neot's instruction he too became a monk and joined the monastery. Powerful wind. St. Neot had a wealthy neighbour. One day his agricultural workers were bringing in the harvest on wagons. A strong wind developed and it was powerful that it drove the wagons, the oxen and the men back to the field the corn had been taken. The harvest was unloaded for safety. As soon as the rich man heard of the event, he considered it a warning and sent for his sin. He hastened to the saint and begged pardon and was made a perpetual donation of money to the tenants of the saint, apparently liberating them from further obligation to work for him. And then the last one, once a great multitude of crows began to eat the crops and everything they could from the fields, damaged them greatly. People watched over the fields from Monday to Saturday and scared the crows away. However, on Sunday the people went to church and the crows took advantage of their absence and feasted on the crops. The people
Speaking of crows, do you remember that time in Israel, which we love, by the way, when all those crows were flying around Tel Aviv?
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
No.
And do you remember when those anti-Semitic bees were going around, like thousands of them, and they were stinging people in cafes like Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yeah.
And they were like,
he likes a cafe in his blues on style jacket, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Blues on style. That's such a police term. But it's just. Do you remember that time?
To use it. I think if the police can use it, I can use it. And that was definitely a blues on style jacket that he was wearing.
But, do you remember all the time when the bees in Israel, they were just like going into jet engines
covered in bees,
and the pilots couldn't launch their fighters because they were being stung by bees, and they couldn't get into the cockpit. It's like, I'm not getting into the cockpit with all those bees following me, and it's just like the bees were just like, yeah, we're bees. Anyway, be peaceful, you all, and see you again Thursday. I'm out. Bye.
So Neot saw the crows. And he built a large.
What do you mean? Hang on.
Are you finished? Saw this, built a large compound of earth and granite, and ordered the crowds to gather in it every Sunday, and they did. There you go. I've finished that.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Well, should I do the Richie sign off today, or should I do stay spooky?
Woo!